This is HBR News number 452. Black men cease to be black when Expedient Hamilton musical If Hillary Made It, where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. Hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you are not consumed by it. I'm your host, Brian, and I am joined by, as always, my lovely co-hosts, Dr. Random McCam and Hannah Wallen. We have a great show lined up for you guys this week, so please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat as well as the comment section. On this week's HBR News, we're going to be discussing a woman who was driven to a murderous craze caused by the eclipse. That deserves a woman moment.
Driven to it. She drove to it.
You know that there's going to be some stupid female comedian out there who is going to capitalize on this by telling everybody that all women everywhere are always on the verge of a murderous rage anyway because of the men.
Patriarchy. Because of men, yeah.
They're always driven to it. Especially in countries where they're allowed to drive. And you wonder why certain countries don't allow them to drive.
And we'll also be...
that she's all joking about it, but she'll really be serious.
Yeah. And we'll also be talking about the recent spate of random women being punched in New York City and what it really means, despite what it looks like. Hillary Clinton has produced a Broadway musical about the suffrage movement and more, so stick around. It's gonna be a good time. Yes, that's right. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. We have this article from The Independent. This is actually in line, more or less, with the New York City story, but this is us talking a little bit about what's happening in Australia, and it is entitled, "What's Really to Blame for the Sydney Stabbings?" Psychologist Dr. Jessica Taylor, expert, and she writes, "I can tell you that attacks like these are rarely random, unpredictable, unrelated, and unpreventable. The real monster..."
In the same fucking week, no.
The real monster here is misogyny. So we're going to be looking at that, and hoping to get educated, or at least told to educate ourselves. So if you want to join us for that juicy patron content, then become a Badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com/subscribe and set up a monthly subscription. $5 a month will get you into our Discord, where you'll be able to watch all of the additional content, like our patron-only content, as well as other things like writers' rooms and various game nights and movie nights and things like that. It's a really great community, and we don't it's a refuge. I think of it as a refuge. So, and also, if you don't want to wake up one morning and find that we've been yeeted from the internet, go to badgerfeed.com or honeybadgerradio.com, where you will find all of our additional, where all of our content lives, because one day we might not be on YouTube. All right, with all of that out of the way, we're going to start with a little bit of a follow-up story. So, let me see if I can find my write-up here. I think this is it. So, the FBI has opened up the criminal investigation into the Francis Scott Key Bridge that collapsed last month after a barge collided with a support structure. According to reports, the boat lost power briefly before colliding with the support structure. 6 people were killed in the collapse. The FBI in a statement wrote that, quote, "The FBI is present aboard the cargo ship Dali conducting court-authorized law enforcement activity and did not have any additional comments."
Well,
I
just really want to quick talk about how hard it is to find a space to hold my vast amounts of trust and faith in the FBI. I am absolutely, unquestionably, and totally not sarcastically certain that they will come to a conclusion, and there will be absolutely nothing political about it, and it will just be perfect.
Yeah, we talked about this 3 weeks ago while it was still breaking-ish. When when all we could ascertain was the suspicious motion of the boat in the seconds leading up to the collision. And I did indeed find myself sort of skating around the rim of what might be called a conspiracy theory, only to go so far as asking a few questions as to what on earth the explanation is for the boat making such a hairpin turn in the precise direction of the bridge column in what seemed like a direct defiance of the law of inertia. Yeah, and you know what would help clear up this mystery? The black box. Surely we could take a quick glance at the recording, as is customary, and indeed is the whole point of a black box. Are we sure we have the whole thing? Are we sure there aren't a couple of minutes missing of that censored? Nah, that wouldn't happen.
We should build the bridge out of the material used to build the black box, because I understand black boxes are indestructible. Yeah. Like, why didn't we think of that?
Yeah, apparently it was for the most part recovered, and according to the reports from all the mainstream media articles I could find, what happened was they dropped the anchor. Oh, did they? They dropped the anchor right under the bridge, where it's guaranteed to send the vessel circling around on the spot, inevitably crashing into something. Well, that was a bloody silly idea, wasn't it? Or a bloody deliberate idea. So yeah, that's a reasonable explanation for how it might have happened, but it leaves wide open the question of why it happened. And on that point, Occam's razor and Hanlon's razor find themselves in an impromptu sword fight. It seems the simplest explanation is malice. And it's only now that the FBI has deigned to conduct an investigation, is it? Us space lepers were out here 3 weeks ago going, oi, that looks sus. Something looks sus. I'm not saying it's necessarily domestic terrorism, but maybe someone should look into it just in case it is. I suppose that's why they didn't look into it. I guess there's a tradition in the FBI, now that it stands for following Biden's instructions, that if something is noticed by the wrong people first, the protocol is, well, shit, now we have to not notice it. Now we have to call them conspiracy theorists and spend 3 weeks pretending nothing happened. 3 weeks is about as long as it takes for the normies and the commies to forget what happened and stop caring. I suppose it is technically our job to investigate domestic terrorism, perhaps in the pursuit of preventing it in the future, but let's face it, that has to take second fiddle to our main job, which is breaking the spirit of the American people and undermining the truth whenever it might pertain to the interests of the aforementioned American people. So yeah, don't be surprised when they tell you, yeah, we investigated it, and it turns out MAGA did it.
Yeah.
Really?
It's Christian nationalists that did it. It's
the crew of apparently Indians and Ukrainians who did this. Yeah. Turns out they were Christian nationalists and MAGA grandmas. Yeah. We started arresting anyone in the street in the vicinity of Baltimore who happens to be wearing a red hat, just in case. All right, good job. Onward, Christian soldiers, or whatever you are. Oh, say can you see? Sorry, wrong anthem. Whatever the black one is, hip to the hip, up your toes, or whatever. Britannia rules the razor. I don't know.
Now stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to. I'll look funny. Sorry, that should be it. I would sing it.
It's more like the same song, though.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I understand that, like, commies on Twitter were losing their minds about the FBI investigating because they didn't want to feed into what they're calling a narrative that this is like the reason this happened had something to do with DEI. People are just like sort of reacting to their pattern recognition of like things that have been happening with trains and planes and automobiles, and they're just kind of like taking it to the next logical step. But I would like to know what the cause is, at least so that we can, you know, try to prevent it in the future. But, well, basically Mike said mostly what I was thinking about saying about this. So it is good that they're looking into it, but I don't suspect we're going to learn much from it. So Arman says, I once got busy in a Burger King bathroom. He gets the reference. So.
Whatever they do learn, though, they're certain to spin it faster than whoever is at fault spun that ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, like I said, it'd be nice to know. I mean, it is really strange that a lot of this stuff is happening now, and it makes you wonder. You know, it makes you wonder. Things that make you go,
Biden becomes president, suddenly everyone is incompetent.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, anyway, we're going to move on to the next story. This was just a quick little follow-up. We'll see what happens, because obviously the FBI never lies, and we will obviously learn the truth about this whole thing. But in the meantime, Meredith G sent us $5 and said, HBR News 452, honey for the Badgers. I also got another Super Chow yesterday at 1:27 in the morning, and I might as well just read it. I can't display it, unfortunately. From Coffee Emoji, who gave us $5 and then $5. I think one was for the fundraiser, so thank you. And he said, good morning, women are children. Thank you for that. I disavow. All right.
You can disavow, but I've been talking to pro-abortion advocates, and I can't disavow that. I'm sorry.
I had people in our comments section, I think from a stream I uploaded yesterday. Well, Alice and I did a stream on Sunday. We were responding to Jordan Owen. Remember that voice? Blast from the past.
Wow.
And he went on this complete, like, crazy TDS tirade. And I had to respond to it because I knew that, like, Allison wasn't going to rebuke it with the same fervor that I was going to. But in that, he was saying that women, he wants women to be able to just get abortions like whenever, like unquestioningly, and he was joyful in it, right? His only problem,
for women.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. But like, here's the thing, that's the narrative, right? And he was also saying that like his only problem with the abortion discussion is that the Satanists are like bad optically for it. So he was like, yeah, the Church of Satan probably shouldn't be talking about they that for them abortion is a ritual rite, so they can sacrifice the babies to Moloch or Baphomet or whoever it is. And he was like, yeah, that's bad optically. It's but that was it. And I said, can we even like talk about whether or not this is a good idea, period? Like before we can get into financial abortion for men. We've talked about that, and I don't want to make this into an abortion show because we're not talking about that today, but I basically just said, this should be handled in an objective way, and we cannot center women. That's the problem with the abortion discussion today. It is centered on women, and it should not be. It should be centered on the unborn. Like we have to figure out what are the rights of the unborn. And this guy spurred down in our comments section, and he literally said that this discussion is settled because George Carlin did a good bit on it once. That was his logic. And I was like, dude, George Carlin is a comedian. He's also the original Redditor. I mean, he is Reddit in human form on a stage ranting about curse words.
It's a great big club, and we're not part of it.
Here's the problem with centering women in the abortion discussion. All right, nobody really does that. When people say they're centering women, they're not. They're not centering women's welfare. Right? They're not centering female accountability, which is the greatest tool in your toolbox for success. They're not centering women's health, because if they were, they would be discouraging women from using abortion for birth control instead of using other forms of birth control that don't involve abortion. Because there's chemical things that happen to your body when you are pregnant and then suddenly you're not. And it's one of the reasons why miscarriages are unhealthy and why you need medical care after a miscarriage. So they're not centering women, right? They're centering feminists' feelings about women, womanhood, and entitlement. And that's it's bullshit when they start making the conversation about women and rights. That's it. So there you go. That's my whole take for the day on abortion.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just basically saying that I feel your pain, Hannah. But we have to move on to the next story. So let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments, and let's get into it. So speaking of MAGA, so a curious phenomenon has started in New York City. Multiple women have taken to social media to report that they or someone they know has been punched, usually in the face. While none of these attacks have been serious, so far it has raised the question of why. The vast majority of the punching seems to be committed by men and with little to no contact with the women before the incident. All of the incidents, 3 have been the best documented. TikTok user Haley Kate took to the platform to tell her over 1 million followers about how she was the victim of an unprovoked sucker punch. In the now viral video, with over 40 million views, Kate describes the attack, stating, "You guys, I was literally just walking and a man came up and punched me in the face. Oh my god, it was so bad, I can't even talk."
How did she say that?
But I watched the video. I mean, I believe that she did get punched in the face, but that's not the story. In the following days, a man would be arrested with an interesting history. In the past several years, Stora has attempted to run for city council, mayor, and governor, losing every time. Stora is also no stranger to controversy, as multiple videos of him can be found online. These videos often depict his rather aggressive political campaigning style, in which he loudly confronts potential voters and sometimes even stalks them, especially if they are female. There is no word currently if he is the one behind any or of the other high-profile assaults. Another story follows the 68-year-old Irene Taliamboris as she was exiting St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church in Briarwood. As Irene exited the building, a 16-year-old dressed in all black and wearing a face mask approached her. It turns out the teen was stalking her ever since she exited a local bank. Seeing an opportunity, the teen knocked her down the stairs outside the church, took her purse, and then stole her car. He was arrested shortly afterwards. The teen was also responsible for another robbery just 3 days prior, but was let go soon after. The teen has a record of 9 arrests so far, 8 of which were robbery arrests. Boris suffered a fractured skull and suffered memory loss for several days after the mugging. The teen, whose name is concealed due to his age, attempted suicide while in police custody but was not successful. At the famous Grand Central Station, a 30-year-old man viciously attacked a 9-year-old girl with an unprovoked random assault. Jean Carlos Zarzuela was arrested and charged with assault after punching a girl traveling with her mother to the face and running away. Just like the other attackers mentioned, Zarzuela is not a first-time felon. Less than a week prior to the attack, Zarzuela was arrested after breaking a 54-year-old woman's nose. This attack also occurred at Grand Central Station and was unprovoked. He was released just 5 days after the assault. As it turns out, Zarzuela is something of a known quantity at Grand Central Station. Brooke Gabo, who works at the station, stated about Zarzuela. He fake swings at people sometimes, but I guess he's like actually swinging at people now. MTA Communications Director Tim Minton stated, "It doesn't make any sense that this guy should be back in a public space where he can attack others, especially children."
No, but before anyone gets into anything else, I have to say, you guys remember when this happened to Rick Moranis, right?
Oh yeah.
I can't remember how long ago it was, but we covered it on the show. The incident was caught on camera, no less. Some random guy was just walking past Rick Moranis and just sucker punched him in the face for no reason. It's funny how among all this awful stuff happening to women, just out of the blue, somehow the only man to whom it has ever happened is Rick Moranis. Isn't that weird? Isn't that strange? The one guy who's ever faced such harsh and chaotic violent treatment just so happens to be a beloved celebrity who made it into the news. Why, it's a coincidence of epic proportions. By now, you'll have noticed the dropping penny, and it didn't have far to drop in the event that you think about it for a second. Yet this happens to men all the time, since time immemorial. Not just trans men, not just gay men, not just men of a protected race or religion, and not just beloved celebrities. Any given man of any given subcategory faces this risk anytime they walk through a city minding their own goddamn business. As long as there are violent psychopaths wandering the street who just feel like sucker punching anyone they think they can get away with sucker punching. Because everyone knows, even violent psychopaths know instinctively and by experience, that you can and will get away with punching a man, even a random man, even for no reason whatsoever. When this happens to men, what do those men do as a result of such an attack? What can they do? They get up, they dust themselves off, they carry on walking, and no one gives a shit.
It's like the Aaliyah song.
Yeah, even if they wake up in the fucking hospital the next day, no one gives a shit. They sure as fuck don't upload a video to TikTok going, oh, woe is me, I got randomly punched by a stranger for no reason. I mean, they can. Sure, they can try. Maybe they do all the time.
Maybe.
But their TikTok video will sure as hell not go viral. It won't be, carefully catalogued by the media or the alternative media and edited together with all the others and broadcast to the world as a breaking news story that everyone's expected to be shocked and outraged about because no one gives a shit. Why would they? It happens all the time. Either people don't realize it happens all the time because they never hear about it because no one gives a shit, or they do realize it happens all the time, they just don't give a shit. After all, it's just men. As people so frequently like to say, as people take pride in saying, men need to be punched in the face, don't they? It makes them real men. It's a good thing. As a matter of fact, it's not happening enough. And then I have the gall to go online and say, I disagree with that statement. And in response, I get all manner of cunts going, yeah, but nobody really says that. Nobody really says men need to be punched in the face. And if they do, they don't really mean it, surely. Oh, don't they? I suppose it's a massive coincidence that men are constantly getting punched in the face and no one gives a shit. It's happened to me, by the way. And not just a singular sucker punch. I've been walking home, minding my own business, and been battered about the face in a flurry of punches from a random stranger. Yes. And you know what? I didn't go home thinking, wow, now I feel like a real man. I'm so glad that happened. Yeah, believe it or not, no, it kind of just fucking sucks.
Yeah, it does.
And now I'm supposed to give a shit that it's finally happening to women. After centuries of flooding the world with people who think it's perfectly admirable to punch men, we're supposed to do a shocked Pikachu face when a handful of those people get it into their heads that it's also okay to punch women. Just like you flooded the world with people who think it's admirable to mutilate male genitals, and then you turn around and throw a fucking wobbler when anyone somehow gets the idea that they can mutilate female ones as well. Fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. You want my sympathy? You want any of my sympathy? Then give me some of yours. Give me any of yours. No? No deal? Okay, we will leave it there, shall we? Good day, milady. I doff my fucking cap to you. Enjoy the world you created. I will be right here, hunkering down in a dark room, playing video games and watching porn. I don't even like porn, but I'll watch it just to spite you. Fuck it, I'll watch gay porn. Then you won't even get paid.
Yeah.
You know what's truly bizarre about this news story is how, and it's interesting because like usually they will try not to give away the game, right? They will try not to be so obvious, so absolutely fucking obvious that the punchline is miles before the joke. But in this story, it is miles before the joke. You can see by the middle of the second story there that they're just stringing together completely unrelated instances of crime that are happening and making out like there's some sort of a pattern to them. There is absolutely no pattern to this. People get punched, men and women, in the commission of crimes or by crazy people or for other reasons all over the country every day. This is the United States of America. We beat the hell out of each other for fun. Okay. Some places more often than others. And I would just make a note to anybody wanting to try this out. Try it in a small town first. See what happens. But in any case, these three men that have been highlighted here seem like totally well-adjusted, normal, average guys, right? Oh wait, no, they're not. There was something wrong with every single one of them, and quite a bit of it seems to have been mental health, right?
Yeah.
Like that obviously cannot be translated into, gosh, guys are just this way, can it? But somebody will try to do that. We'll hear that from feminists. They'll see a story like this and they'll be like, oh, it's just because they're men. Men do stuff like this all the time. It's a male thing. But y'all remember the knockout game, right? They didn't target women.
Yeah. Well, no, that still
Right.
goes on. Yeah.
Yeah. And as in terms of robbery, they're going to target the most vulnerable person who isn't going to hit them back, right? Who isn't going to make it difficult for them to get what they want and get the fuck out of there before somebody comes along and arrests them or beats them for trying to steal somebody's stuff. That's the way that works. They target people who look weak. When I was a kid, my great aunt, my mom's aunt, got tackled and dragged down the street by her purse, which was wrapped around her wrist by a high school kid who had just joined a gang, and that was his payment. He was supposed to steal her Social Security check and bring it back to whoever assigned him the task. And he got caught because she didn't let go of her purse. The reason that I had my candy wrapped around my wrist the night of the Halloween mugging that I always tell about on or close to Halloween was because of that incident, right? He didn't target her because she was female. He targeted her because she was old and weak, and being female probably made her look weak too. And that is what criminals do. I've been knocked over in a strong arm robbery. I've been threatened with knives. I've been threatened with guns, twice, actually. And I've been in the building shortly after coworkers have been threatened with knives and guns. They target people that they can get one over on and get the fuck out of there. Robberies in places like convenience stores take less than 5 minutes. They shove the gun in your face, you give them the money, they go. They don't want to still be there when the cops show up, if the cops show up, right? And then if you're on the street, it's even faster. If they don't have to confront you, if you've got something hanging off of you like a purse, they just grab it and run. Right? Run right on down the street. You only get punched if they think they need to do that to get your stuff, or if they're crazy. And it just blows my mind that this writer was so stupid as to give away the game. Every time you hear a news story about the pattern of violence, or the pattern of knife violence, or the pattern of gun violence, in especially in the United States, remember this: when they say pattern, what they're really saying is, it doesn't matter if all of these incidents are completely unrelated. The people have nothing to do with each other. There is no conspiracy. There is no thing that is causing all of this that could be traced back to one single unique cause. This is what happens when you don't stop crime. This is what happens when you create circumstances that lead to more crime. When you create hardship, when you create fear, when you create a lack of recognition of each other's humanity among people, when you create circumstances that lead to drug problems, right? When you create more poverty, in a country that already has quite a bit, even though we're actually quite prosperous here, then yeah, you get people doing shit like this. When you take away people's ability to get health care, real health care, I'm not talking about abortion, I'm talking about being able to get treatment when you have a mental health condition and not getting hassled by the cops for your medication.
Right.
Not having the DEA come after you because other people might use your medication to get high. Not having the DEA come after you because your doctor upped your dosage. Things like that, right? The government is the cause of this, if you want a single cause. But it's not one action by the government. It's a whole spectrum of things, and each individual crime, each individual violent person is going to have some of the things on that spectrum. Not just one, not just two, at least a handful, possibly a dozen, possibly more, that contributed to that crime. And until people start trashing articles like this, making fun of the writer for writing that stupid shit, like to their face. Look at you conspiracy theorist, you're trying to make a pattern out of something that is actually very complicated and has nothing to do with conspiracy. We're going to still see this shit, and we're going to still see no effort at solving the multitude of problems that lead to these types of crimes. And we're going to see men being the people that get flushed down the toilet of this just absolute shit sewer every single time. There'll be men who wouldn't have committed crimes if a lot of these problems didn't exist. And now their lives, they've ruined their lives. And there will be mostly men who are victims of these crimes. And like Mike said, they will get treated like they don't matter. Nobody will care. Might as well just flush them with the story. And that's pathetic that we can't do better than that.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's what my purpose in picking this story was when... so I heard about this stuff happening where women were getting punched in the face. And I believe Paul Joseph Watson did a video on it. Because he was trying to figure out, like, he was asking the rhetorical question, why aren't these women giving a description of the person who did this? And they didn't, because the person who did this, it might not be the same person, but all the people who...
They described them as men.
Yes, they described them as men, but they didn't go further than that, right? And it came out later, well, at least a person, a man, made a video, and I guess he was the person who was responsible for some of it, at least. We don't know the extent of it, but he was a black man. And this is a problem. So what we're looking at is a number of factors that contributed to this issue. One, you had these were probably the same women that voted for the government that put in place a bunch of these soft on crime laws, which have absolutely devastated New York City. Not only that, but New York City, because it called itself a sanctuary city, they got a bunch of migrants, which absolutely devastated the city even more, to the point where the mayor of New York was even saying this is going to destroy New York. But because of pride and their desire to virtue signal, they were like, it was all because anything to, like, essentially hurt the orange man or the people who support anything that could be considered adjacent to the orange man. It doesn't have to be the orange man, but just anything adjacent to it, right? And they are killing themselves in the hopes that those people that they oppose will be the ones harmed by it. They are doing financial damage through, like real estate seizures or whatever is what they're trying to do, which obviously will kill business in New York, period, because no realtor, no investor will want to work there. They went soft on crime. Now there are criminals everywhere. When a person does something criminal and somebody steps in, Daniel Penny did, he will be arrested. So they will persecute heroic men who are doing good things. And I talked about this on a show before when we discussed the Daniel Penny situation. It is, I think, by design to essentially create a situation where men who would do good won't act, or they will leave, like all the police who have essentially resigned. For example, people like Daniel Penny who have been arrested, or others who have left, and the ones that will be left are the ones who don't give a shit. And so you're going to be left with more criminal men than, a disproportionate number, and men who would do the right thing unable to act because there's so much in their way, and also there's no desire because it's not appreciated. And so you get more of that, and then they will use that to blame men as a group, because the only men that are essentially acting in the world, or at least in the city, are the ones that they refuse to arrest, they refuse to prosecute, and they essentially will act out violently. And then when they do, and this is the best part, these same women that voted for these policies, that supported defunding the police and all of that, have supported essentially the soft on crime laws, they get assaulted by violent criminal men, and they won't even say what they look like, because they're more afraid of being called racist or at least being lumped in, than actually doing the right thing. And they won't even do it to protect other women, because if they did, then maybe they can get that guy arrested so he doesn't hurt anybody else. But no, they're so self-absorbed with what people might think of them if they actually described the offender who did that to them. They will allow this to persist. And then when it comes out that a man has come forward, and I guess he is responsible because he has a Make America Great Again flag on his wall in his apartment, they're like, that's it. That's what we're going to use as the scapegoat. We're going to deflect, and we're going to say that the criminal men that benefit from all of the policies that we voted for, though it's a MAGA thing that happened, and now all of a sudden the guy's no longer black. They see that, and oh shit, we can unblack him, and we're gonna make him this. And this brings me back to the thing I've been saying since Black Lives Matter even started, which is the whole thing is about, it has nothing to do with black men, because it has nothing to do with men, period. And these are only tools. They're just chess pieces that they move around to use to get power, to control the narrative, to essentially manipulate people. And yes, this should be ridiculed into oblivion. It is ridiculous. And black men, you have to stop siding with these people, because they do not care about you. And the first thing you have to do is abandon that black identity, because that is killing you. It is literally killing you. So stop it. Be a man, not a black man. Just be a man. And I don't mean that in the, be a man way. I mean, you are what you are, right? So anyway, that's all I want to say about that. I think that this is, for me, the takeaway is that they will, you will cease to be black if it's not convenient, and you will be black if it is. And that it's got to be a pathetic thing to be attached to. So let me know what you guys. Oh yeah, go ahead.
To reiterate, this was a gender issue long before it was a race issue, and I'm not
yes
talking centuries. I'm talking millennia.
Yes.
Women decided that women were better than men, and from there on we got this idea that it's never okay to hit a woman. And by the way, you totally should hit men. It's good for them. And this went on for a shitload of time, and then in relatively recent history, the splinter groups of this feminist movement decided that black people are better than white people, and then it became apparent that even black men thought they were better than white women, and so black men started punching white women. And now they're going, oh wait, that's weird how that happened, but they're still not going, oh maybe we shouldn't have said that black people are better than white people. They can't even do that, and they can't even begin to fathom the idea that this started with the idea that saying women are better than men. You think that they're not going to roll back the black people are better than white people thing, because then that would put them on the trajectory to considering the notion that that maybe it was wrong to say women are better than men. I did that whole rant without mentioning race, because to be honest, it's peripheral to all.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Something else about this. Women uniquely feel entitled to feel safe walking down the street. And that is one of the reasons why women are more vulnerable. Not because they're weaker, but because they feel entitled to feel safe walking down the street. And they act on it. And I wonder how many of the women that this has happened to were on their phone until they, like fiddling with the screen and stuff until they took a fist to the face. Because, when you're not paying attention to your surroundings, that is a vulnerability. And I can tell you there have been multiple times where I've either been the driver or seen it happen, vehicles going through a parking lot, and some chick just without even looking walks out in front of a moving vehicle. And there's been a couple of times where I've seen a boyfriend or a husband grab the back of a shirt and pull her back because she walked out when it was too late for me to stop my big ass van, and she got mad at him. So what the hell is wrong with you? Like, how dare you save my ass from getting hit by a moving vehicle? I don't care if it was 9 miles an hour. That would still hurt a vehicle that big, right?
For sure.
Women don't pay attention to where they are and what's going on around them when they are out in public. So if you're raising a daughter, you want to raise her like a boy in terms of situational awareness, in terms of being aware out and about, because the more we advance in the issues that we have, especially again here in the United States, we've gotten to the point where people really, I can't say people really don't care about each other, but there are whole classes of people that really don't. Not everybody, not all, right? And so there is the increased threat, and that entitlement never was right, but now it's also going to be gone.
Yeah. All right, well, I got some super childs to read, so I'm going to read those. And then we will move on to the next story. So Zeranx gave us $5. Thank you, Zeranx. And he says, you need to play the Place Boing video featuring Doug Harbour saying, punch some people in the face, walking about women being punched in New York City. Doug played a Russian in the extremely late Black Widow movie, and he grew up in White Plains, New York. He fits everything about a MAGA individual communists want to paint MAGA as. And he includes a link. So I will show this really quick. This was from Zeranx. Thank you, Zeranx, and let's play it, I guess.
Punch some people in the face. Punch some people in the face. Punch people in the face. Punch some people in the face. Seriously. Punch some people. Punch some people. Punch some people in the face. Punch some people. Punch some people. Punch some people in the face.
All right, I'm gonna stop it because I don't know if we're gonna get like we might get a copyright and Allison's gonna like lose her shit. So I will stop it there. But thank you, Zeranx. I think we get the point. So then I got another super chow from Richard BR for $5, and he says, "Is it me or do those TikTok videos have an oddly similar script, almost like they were written by the same person? The cargo ship happened to be running around for about a mile before it struck the bridge. That is some serious inertia for it to continue in motion while dragging the hull on the channel floor." Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. And then I got another super chow from Richard Bier for $5. And he says, the mother of the one... What is it? The mother of the one who pushed a woman down the stairs at the church said how her son was such a good boy because he bought her a single rose and called her to tell her that he loves her from the stolen cell phone.
Oh, jeez.
Look, I'm not justifying. Obviously, none of this is justified, but like, you know, when we see stuff like that, let's be real. Like this kid that was killed in Chicago, like literally in my old neighborhood, Humboldt Park. This recent shooting that they're trying to make into a big, you know, like Summer of Love 2.0 thing. That problem, that's a problem that predates like that particular incident, but no one wants to have that conversation. They get offended when you say, well, you know, where was his father? What's going on with his single mom? What was his home life like? Why is the neighborhood like this? Like all these things. Why is it a food desert? Why are the riots like the reaction? And people don't want to address that. Like they don't. I mean, I'm the bad guy when I bring it up, you know. Richard Beer then gives us $5 and says, countdown to the next Kitty Genoverse starts now. All right, thank you for all of your super chows and your thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're gonna move on to the next story. Oh yeah, this one. this is a classic woman moment. So all right, let's see here.
Women.
Get up on the screen here. All right, so this is from GBN News, and Los Angeles-based social media influencer and astrology enthusiast Danielle Johnson, age 34, was found dead last Monday after doing the unthinkable. On the day of the eclipse, Johnson posted several disturbing messages to her social media, including, wake up, the apocalypse is here, and claimed that the eclipse was the epitome of spiritual warfare. Later in the day, police claimed that she had an argument with her boyfriend, Jalen Allen Cheney, no relation to Dick Cheney, age 29, a U.S. Air Force veteran. The argument then turned violent as Johnson, the woman, then proceeded to stab Cheney multiple times, leading to his death. She then moved her 8- and 9-year-old daughters into her car before speeding off down the highway after ramming through the gate of her apartment complex. At some point, she demanded her daughters exit the vehicle, and when they refused, she pushed them out while her car was still moving. Whilst the 9-year-old remained safe and was able to be rescued, the 8-year-old was struck and killed by a passing vehicle. Johnson then took off down Pacific Coast Highway with speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour. Around 30 minutes later, she would crash into a tree. She then was pronounced dead at the scene. LAPD Detective Lieutenant Guy Nolan said the following, quote, "The only witness we have for this crime now is the 9-year-old girl. There's just very little information we have other than there was a verbal altercation that turned violent and it ended in tragedy. You have this poor 9-year-old girl who has to live with this for the rest of her life," end quote. The surviving 9-year-old has been placed under the care of the LA Department of Children and Family Services. So, solar eclipse did that, I guess. I don't know.
I just have to wonder how long this woman was showing signs of instability before that happened. Because
well, she was an astrology social media influencer, and I think Aries was rising.
That's the first sign, right?
Yeah, I know.
That's the first
sign of being a normal woman.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
A woman is the first sign of instability, honestly. Sorry. That's gonna get us ruined. It's objects moving in space that sometimes, from the viewer's perspective, cross each other's path. Right? And we only attribute anything spiritual or magical to it when it's really big objects in a lot of space. Even though the same thing happens all the time, all day, every day, with much smaller objects in much smaller amounts of space. This has never made sense to me. Right? I mean, I've joked about it. I've, done the whole rigmarole of, oh yes, I am, people ask your birth sign and I'll make fun of it. Oh yeah, I'm a Cancer. You might not like me at first, but I'll grow on you, But what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah.
I just what the ever fucking fuck? We knew that eclipses happened for centuries before this eclipse, and there will be eclipses later, and there's gonna be more. And somewhere in space, where you can't see it, there is an eclipse happening right now from our perspective between two objects floating in space. It's just they're much farther away from us than the sun and the moon. So for people to go crazy over this shit, it's ridiculous. It's cartoonish. And then the horrible thing is this kid, this child died over something completely and utterly cartoonish. I mean, it may be fun for people to do the whole conspiracy or not conspiracy, but apocalypse today thing online. Oh, this latest thing, this new thing is a sign of the apocalypse. This latest new thing that's perfectly explainable is a sign of the apocalypse. The apocalypse is going to happen next Tuesday. The apocalypse is going to happen next Wednesday. When you take it that seriously, when you lose your shit over it, like when people are doing shit like this over it, it's not that people shouldn't be playing this ARG. It's not that people shouldn't be laughing about this stuff and enjoying this stuff. It's that there should be repercussions for taking it seriously before it gets to this point. If you're making a living or just getting your income, making a name for yourself, taking that shit seriously, if it's your job or it's even resembling a job, other people should step in and keep an eye on you. There is something wrong with people who make this a major, serious part of their lives that dictates what they do and dictates what they think and dictates how they feel and dictates whether or not how they panic. It is literally just gravity working.
Yeah,
Child died because gravity works, and her mother went crazy because gravity works.
This is a whole different scale of what Jordan Peterson means when he says clean your room. If you can't even get control of your room, if you can't even bring order about in your own 15 foot by 15 foot space, then you have no business going about trying to clean up the entire planet. And if you can't even clean up your entire planet, then you have no business trying to clean up the sun or indeed any other star or astrological body. But let's not pretend for a moment that was actually this woman's excuse. Well, it was her excuse, but it wasn't her reason for doing this. It was the phenomenon she pointed at so that she didn't have to pay attention to what was going on in her life. Obviously, she was about to snap. Like, regardless of what else was going on in the world, this was an extremely mentally unwell woman. For whatever reason, like, it might not even have been for legitimate reasons. She might have just been a healthy woman who was fed absolute nonsense about how she's a victim and therefore she needs to de-victimize herself by killing everyone else. It's like, maybe she was mentally ill, maybe she wasn't, but this, let's not believe for 1 second that she actually did this because of the eclipse. She did this because she wanted to do this, and the eclipse was her excuse. And that's about all I have to say. And I only thought of it just now. Apart from that, I always have difficulty mustering anything insightful or funny to say about shit like this. Even I struggle to find humor in something as dark as killing a man and a child, and then killing yourself. But for anyone who's wondering why we so often do stories like this of female criminals of such caliber, and we so infrequently cover instances of male perpetrators of similar crimes, if and when a man does something like this, you wouldn't need us to fill you in on the details. It would be all over the news. it would be the perfect distraction from whatever the news doesn't want you to know about at the time, and at the same time it would be the perfect example of the narrative that the mainstream news would love to flood you with as often as they can. The fact that you so rarely see such stories of men doing this kind of thing would insinuate that it just doesn't happen all that often. And the fact that we do find stories of women doing this at a surprising frequency should perhaps make you wonder what the ratio is in real life, as much as it can be ascertained. I, for one, had no idea that this happened until today, when I looked into the Discord and discovered that Mark J had written it up for us. So, yeah, by all means, do pay attention to the mainstream media, because you can be sure that they will let us know as and when any such brutal family slaughters are carried out by a man, especially a white man. And as part of a balanced diet, do stay tuned to Honey Badger Radio, and we'll let you know when yet another such crime is carried out by a woman. And you can assess the prevailing ratio as you see fit. Hashtag not all women, ob. I'm not even going to attribute anything to toxic femininity, as opposite as it might be. We're just here for the ratio, to balance the ratio, to put another pin in the conspiracy theory map.
Yeah.
As it is. Draw your own conclusions.
Well, I mean, I think the purpose of it is to kind of like, you know, like shatter the pattern, I guess. Like, you know, if people only look at the news and they're trying to figure out patterns of violence, they're only going to be shown the men, because that's convenient and because it's useful to the narrative. And this just sort of like puts a crack in it. So people say, oh, well, women can do these things too. You know, just like the last story, where I was like, you know, when they're going to take something that should simply, you know, not necessarily have anything attributed to it, but they're going to try and attribute something to it. And we're going to try and break that and say, wait a minute, no, it doesn't mean what they're trying to claim, because they want to alter the way you see reality. They want to alter reality through the way you view it. They can't create something from nothing. So they look for stuff that's happening in the real world. They find something that fits, and then maybe they have to reframe it, and then they give it to you like that, you know? And we're here to say, I mean, we can't catch it every time, but we're here to say, hey, look, it's not that simple. You know, that's it. Like, this isn't scapegoating women. This is simply saying women are also capable of these things. And in fact, a lot of times women do this to children, but it very rarely makes the news, or at least when it does, it somehow has nothing to do with her being a woman. Not that it necessarily is, but that becomes like the least important detail. So there's like a hierarchy of what they want you to focus on, that they're trying to construct. And when I say by they, I mean the media and activists and intellectuals, etc. And then there's like, you know, what should be is just like, here is what it is, right? And you can conclude what you want, do your own research, whatever. Doesn't bother me. So anyway, let us know what you guys think about that one in the comments. I don't think there's any more super chows. Let's get on to the next story. This is my favorite one. This is my favorite. Okay, so
this is my least favorite.
So you guys probably heard
this happened. This is my least favorite.
Your least favorite. You guys probably heard of Hamilton, right? So what if Hamilton, the musical, which basically takes the founding fathers, turns the whole thing into a musical and replaces all the founding fathers with like non-white dudes, because haha, isn't that weird and quirky and funny? Imagine if Hillary Clinton made that. Well, that's what we get here. So new musical springboards off Hamilton, and if Hillary Clinton made it. Shaina Taub's musical Suffs, which is short for suffragettes or suffragists, I don't know, suffragettes I think, is set to open on Broadway, with Hillary Clinton making her debut as a producer. Inspired by the women's suffrage movement, the show has been in development for years and gained momentum after Clinton's concession speech following the 2016 election. So the moment she lost the election, but what is it, like 8 years ago almost? I guess they started this project. Clinton, who has personal connections to the themes of the musical, sees it as an opportunity to highlight the importance of activism and progress in democracy. The production aims to resonate with audiences, especially during another presidential election year, reminding them of the ongoing fight for equality and the need to uphold democratic values. Clinton reflects on her own voting history, recalling her first vote for Hubert Humphrey in the 1968 election that was like against Richard Nixon, because that's relevant. Amid a turbulent political climate, she emphasizes the significance of every generation's contribution to maintaining the ideals of democracy.
Sigh. Massive, overwhelming sigh. I'm sorry, but this is pathetic. Like she's just never gonna get over it. It's going to go on forever. She'll just keep finding new ways to whine about losing. And this is the latest one, and I'll bet there will be references in it to that. Just sigh.
Suffs?
Oh my god. It's
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's not going to be accurate, right? And
Of course
it's
not.
It's going to be a victim narrative. It's going to make it look like the people who tried to keep women from having voting rights were men. It's going to make it look like the privileged class that was fighting, as in blowing up mailboxes and shit, the terrorists that were the suffragettes were effective. Or it's going to look like the privileged class here in the United States that had all those racist things to say about black men getting the vote before white women, that they were something good, when in reality, they were pretty much irrelevant. They were window dressing. The Uniparty wanted women to have voting rights because they would forever vote for big government. And look at where it has gotten us today.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I said, sigh.
Suffs is a all-female led creative team, including writers. Suffs tells the stories of the imperfect yet impassioned women who changed the face of the women's suffrage movement. And they have a song about being a bitch, and they talk about, there's like, I don't want to play anything because we'll probably get dinged for it, but there are songs that playfully talk about killing their husbands, and it is what you would expect it to be. But it's also like really like strangely elitist. Like, who the hell goes to Broadway musicals anymore and pays $60, $70 a ticket? I don't see poor women or lower class women going to this thing. So who is this for? This is like for Sex in the City addicted, like fucking Manhattanite type women that basically drink wine on Saturday mornings.
Exactly the same people who agitated for the female vote.
Yeah, the same. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So I don't know. Go ahead.
I wonder if there will ever be a point in history at which it's at all socially or professionally expedient to produce a musical or a play or a movie or even a song or a poem that actually tells the truth.
Yeah, I know exactly
about the suffragette movement. It's something mainstream, something that perhaps college students will ever study in English class. Will we ever have the occasion to clear out all the poison ivy of the last 100 years and reveal the ugly reality of what was a domestic terrorist movement that blew shit up and threatened everyone as it sought to create a two-tier caste system, a two-tier legal system of first and second class citizens that was handed everything it demanded within a few short years and proceeded to plunge the Western world into a century of darkness and counting. It feels like wishful thinking of me. It feels almost radical to even imagine such a future in which people come to their senses and come to terms with what really happened. Because once people are set in their ways, you can't get through to them. The boomers are long since married to this delusion. Yeah, and it's an organized marriage. They'll never snap out of it, and neither will Gen X. To be honest, they like to think of themselves as this anomalous void in an otherwise downward spiral. But you can't deny it. Gen X fell for it as well, hook, line, and sinker. It was their job to teach the millennials not to fall for it, and evidently they failed. The millennials ushered in the most insane generation the world has ever seen. And Gen Z appears to be no better. Apart from the outliers, there are outliers in every generation, but they're always few and far between. So if there ever will come a time, if there ever will come a generation that can truly see the West for what it is, a once glorious achievement that has been laid to waste by the likes of Hillary Clinton, then it won't be until all the boomers have died, and all the Gen Xers have died, and the millennials have died, and possibly the Zoomers as well. The pattern suggests that it would be naive to assume that Generation Alpha will be any different. I'm squinting my eyes as much as I can, and I can't even imagine what the world would look like. It really looks like no one alive today will ever know a world that isn't prostrating itself to this make-believe, this hopeless maelstrom of simps and thoughts that knows nothing but cucking itself to this gynocentric nightmare. And given what else could happen in the next 3 or 4 generations, I can't help but think, this is it, guys. This is the end of an empire. Our only hope for a future is if we can acknowledge that all this is happening because of misandry and feminism. But I look around me and everyone's helplessly distracted by the trans bullshit and the race bullshit and the religion bullshit and the immigration bullshit and the World War III bullshit. And they look at it all and they go, we need to protect the women. And I'm like, I think we're doomed. We've been sat here for 10 years trying to get it through to people, but they're not listening. They don't care. They would rather simp themselves to death than so much as prick open a pinhole camera into the walled-off sarcophagus of Western civilization and of the specter that we might call female responsibility. And they'll just stare directly at the giant behemoth of institutional misandry, and they'll just pretend there's nothing there. The light will continue to bend around it like the gravitational lensing of a galaxy cluster's worth of dark matter. Like, they'll mock Hillary Clinton, sure. They'll mock her stupid little stage musical, but then they'll trot on home to their state-shackled marriage. They'll punch their sons in the face a few times, and then they'll complain about all the bad men that they're permitted to complain about. And that's all they'll do. And their once great civilization will die with a whimper because they were all too polite to truly hold women accountable for anything. I mean, I'll be dead by then, obviously. So you'd think I wouldn't be worried. You'd think I'd be less worried than the people who are supposed to be raising children into this doomed wasteland. But for some reason, I'm more worried. I'm more concerned about the future than the wall-eyed masses of bobbleheads who think they're going to live forever through their children. Well, it's because of the black pill, folks. It's because my diet contains a healthy amount of black pills. This seed oil diet of white pills and blue pills is what has led you all sleepwalking into this disaster. You thought it wasn't that bad. You thought the dreaded MRAs were exaggerating. You thought the dreaded red pillars were exaggerating. No, even they were downplaying it. The future is black, folks. It's not pitch black. There are subtle tints of red and blue in it, little nuggets of gold and silver pills, but you can't keep pretending it's going to be fine. It won't be fine unless you can dig down deep and actually challenge this ingrained religious certainty you have that tells you women are better than men and should be treated better than men. It's not the truism you think it is. It's not even true. It's never been true. And I don't expect anyone to listen. I'm just gonna keep babbling this shit until I die. To that I will drink. Salut, Chin Chin, Kenpai, Slanche.
All right. Well, with that said, I guess we will move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I did get a super chow from Richard BR. I suspect that if it takes 8 years to make this musical, it's probably going to be shit. Because that sounds like a lot of hands in a lot of pots and a lot of rewrites. But you know, I would like to see Hillary Clinton make an honest, speaking of an honest musical, maybe she could make one about her life and it would basically be Sweeney Todd. But anyway, so Richard BR gives us $5 and says, what is the projected remaining lifespan of the cast of this musical? Well, I don't know. They're like middle-aged lesbians, I think. So how long do what's a lesbian lifespan look like? Oh, well, I mean, if Hillary Clinton's paying for it, you know damn well it's the government. But anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comment section. And we're going to move on to the final story. So Belle Delphine now has made a sex doll. Can you believe it? On April 3rd, 2024, something monumental and unexpected happened in the world of sex dolls. That's right, top OnlyFans model and original simp queen Belle Delphine supposedly released a custom sex doll of herself. Over the years, the gamer girl sold many strange and viral things online, such as her bathwater, to millions of her adoring simps. Yet, she never released something that I know many people have asked for, something that seems so obviously related and potentially successful, like a sex doll. Well, that time has finally come. Today on X, that's when this article was written, Belle Delphine promoted a customized sex doll of herself, which you can only order by messaging her on OnlyFans. There have been many Belle Delphine doll attempts in the past, such as custom makeup jobs from Sino Doll and Silicone Lovers Belle, but never anything official. But is this official? Knowing Belle Delphine's history of trolling and controversial antics, this raises many questions, such as, is this actually a custom-made Belle Delphine doll? Is it actually for sale or just a marketing hoax? Because the photos are limited, I can't really tell if it's a custom doll or not. Most likely, it might not be a custom doll, whatever the case may be. We have, now this is the thing that I think that is most interesting about this. So, I am a weirdo, I guess, because I know that, like, in this space, a lot of men who are MGTOW or whatever, they talk about how they can simply replace women with dolls. Because their whole point is not to give women money, but instead buy a sex doll. Now the women are making sex dolls of themselves. So if you buy them, you are still supporting women. Are you going to do this? Or are you going to find another way? Because, like, I'm sorry, but to me, this is pathetic. You should not be, like, at all interested. Now, men will buy it, I know, because Belle Delphine remains like an extremely popular OnlyFans bot online, the simp queen as they call it. And there are a lot of like relatively prominent voices, or at least were, like Turd Flinging Monkey, who bought his own sex doll, and he gave his sex doll her own Instagram page, and she appears and streams with him, or at least used to. I don't really follow his content. And I don't think it is a viable solution for men. I think that they should save their money. I think they should focus on other things, but you guys do whatever you want. That's fine. But I thought it was really funny that Belle Delphine saw the writing on the wall, but she is kind of smart when it comes to business. And she was like, well, if I make a sex doll of myself, then I can make a lot of money. She literally has her ad right here. Ever wanted to F me? Now you can almost F me. I'm selling my very own customized sex toy, including my own clothes and worn panties. It's basically me, but less annoying. And there is a link. So she is selling herself, literally. And the thing is that, like, if men buy this, they perpetuate this. Women are going to do shit like this. But men have a choice too. This is a market. You don't have to go along with it. But anyway, I just thought it was funny and ironic and really weird. So that's it. Belle Delphine has her own custom-made sex doll. So anybody have thoughts on that?
Surprised this didn't happen sooner. And honestly, when it comes to the whole sex doll thing, I don't care. Like most of the time, it's I know some people think of it as taking advantage of men, but men do not have to buy these dolls. And some people think of it as an insult to women because reasons, I guess. But the doll actually looks like a real woman. So it's not really insulting to women. I think it's insulting to men that women fuck disembodied penises made out of silicone, right? That might be a little bit more insulting than an entire person appearing item. But as far as this goes, this is just very smart marketing on her part. And yeah, there's going to be guys that would buy that in a heartbeat. And there's going to be guys that will get mad because other guys buy that in a heartbeat. And the main thing that I would say is that it isn't shameful for men to have interests. It's not shameful for men to want to use something that's not a real person to fulfill those interests. And it's also not shameful for men to say, no, I'm not going to do that. And I don't know that I would categorize this as anybody taking advantage of anybody else. Obviously, you're not going to believe you're in a relationship with Belle Delphine if you are using a doll. It seems rather different than the previous behavior that I've criticized in terms of like OnlyFans thoughts, where they like to get guys to
The girlfriend, give the girlfriend experience. Well,
and all that.
Belle does do that too, and why wouldn't she do a combination of those things?
That I would criticize her for. That I would say is bullshit. You know, pretending to be somebody's girlfriend when you're not. And I have a friend who went through that with he thought he had a stripper girlfriend, and he really believed that right up until she started posting engagement pics with her actual boyfriend, and you know that it wrecked him for a while. You know, it's not a it's not a innocent thing at all. You know, it's actually quite malicious. But I don't know. I genuinely cannot. There's two things that people get really heated about. One of them is sex dolls, and I don't give a rat's ass about sex dolls. And the other one is porn that is not like made by real people, like AI porn, drawn porn, hentai, and stuff like that. That doesn't involve like, obviously it's still made by real people, but there's no people having sex. It's people drawing it, or people
it's
typing
drawings. Yeah, sure.
And people get really outraged about both of those things. I guess there is a third one. The third one is images and such that are considered lolly, that don't involve any real people in the images. Like, I don't care, right? There are people in the world that are actually being victimized. There are human beings that are being trafficked. There are people that are being forced to do things against their will. There are children that are being trafficked, both for labor and for sex. Those people matter, right? What those people are going through, those people are victims. And that's something worth caring about, right? If you want to, have a fit about something and find an organization to give your money to that is doing something about the problem, focus on something like that. And who cares whether somebody's sleeping with a hunk of silicon? Now, yeah, I don't think I consider the career to be respectable in the same way that I would if she was a nurse or a doctor or a person who invented something that people really liked or needed, or created a great game that people enjoyed playing or something like that. But it doesn't matter. It's just...
Yeah.
I think that we're paying too much attention to this chick and her toys and her attention-getting schemes and shit. And the one thing that was really worth criticizing, she's not the only one doing it, she's just the most famous one, and that was the girlfriend experience thing. And I think that's what we should focus on, and focus on criticizing. And the rest of it, I can't bring myself to care.
All right, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but Belle Delphine, whatever else you can say about her, is obviously a fairly shrewd businesswoman.
Yeah.
She has a keen eye for trends, not just following them, but innovating them with the bathwater and stuff like that. And I think what she's doing is getting out ahead of the inexorable AI future. She knows that she's not long for this world. She's going to get replaced by AI bots with which she cannot compete because she's a vapid airhead who cannot offer anything more substantial than an artificial intelligence. Computers have been smarter than her since the fucking 80s. So she's trying to leave her mark on the world while she still can. 5 years from now, no one's going to remember her. But they'll in the meantime, they will buy a physical facsimile of her while they still can. Before they can't afford such luxuries anymore, and when the economy collapses, they won't be able to afford food anymore. But they'll still have their Belle Delphine doll. It will still work because it will still have a hole. You can't degrade a hole, and you just make it a bigger hole. You just pull it down tighter on yourself. It'll be haggard and dogged and covered in spunk and fuck smell. But it'll still function as efficiently as Belle Delphine ever did, and that's all they'll have. Just like I still have my He-Man toys and my Thundercats, and I can still shove them up my ass.
I hope you don't. They're probably worth something. But anyway, I mean, they might be worth more if they've been up your ass, though. That's true. You just have to market yourself like she does. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I guess, like, for me, it's like, you don't do whatever you want with your money. I'm not saying this should be banned or anything like that, but I do think that what we're seeing is that, women are going to find a way to, profit from men's thirst. And I think that maybe there's a way that men can, subvert that. Anyway, let us know what you guys think about this story in the comments. I got a super chat and a super chow. And then we're going to go into the patron show. Right on time, too, by the way. Richard Bier gives us $5 super chow and says, well, at least it's not an Anita Sarkeesian sex doll or a Zoe Quinn doll, for that matter. Ugh. Well, I don't know if Zoe Quinn needs to be a doll. She seems available. Or any of the SBI staff as a sex doll. Yeah, no. Gross. Thank you, Richard, for that. And Senior Sticks gives us a super chat and says, the first lady to have a failed musical, maybe. Well, there is a first for everything, and Hillary Clinton's pretty good at failing, so that is possible. All right. Anyway, so now we are going to go into the patron show, and we're going to look at this article. What's really to blame for the Sydney stabbings? Guess what? It's men. It's men hating women specifically, though. But we'll see like how she makes the case for that in the patron show. So if you guys want to join us in the patron show, you have to become a badger by going to feedthebadger.com and starting a monthly subscription. Go to feedthebadger.com/subscribe. $5 a month will get you into the Discord where you'll be able to watch all the additional content. And that includes lots of patron-only content, some of the stuff that Allison sort of puts out as a draft before the final version of whatever video she's making. We have game nights, movie nights, and all kinds of other stuff going on in there, and it's a good community. So please consider joining us there. All right, with all that said, I did get one more super chat from Zeranx. He says, if it was a Sarky doll, that would be a collector's item regarding her downfall. Oh, sorry, is that short for Sarkeesian? She hasn't fallen, if that's what you're talking about. She works in the industry now, buddy.
She's married now to herself.
Yes. The perfect mate. She probably fights with herself too, a lot. But anyway, all right, anyway, so if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notification, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. Links to the stories are in the description. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thanks so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Are machines, dude. Okay, they are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.